Hi, and welcome back to History! I'm Lindsay Crawford, the Public Programs Coordinator at the James Monroe Museum. I'm looking forward to reading with you today. Today we're reading Anna Strong, a Spy During the American Revolution. Anna Strong, a Spy During the American Revolution, written by Sarah Glenn Marsh, illustrated by Sarah Green. General George Washington was worried about America. He had led the Continental Army to victory in Boston over 2 years ago, but he had lost several battles since. Many of his men were hungry, injured, or sick. The future looked dark for his young country. One cold night in early 1778, as General Washington huddled in his tent, he wondered how he could turn the war around. Without knowing the British Army's every move, America would surely lose its fight for freedom. As the general's eyelids grew heavy, the answer came to him. America needed spies. George asked his friend Major Benjamin Talmadge to form and oversee a new group of spies called the Culper Ring. George Washington had taken a name from Culpeper, Virginia, a place he had worked as a boy. Major Talmadge devised a special code so spies could pass messages that the British could not read. But even with the code and brave men fighting for the country behind the scenes, America wasn't close to winning the war. The spies who infiltrated British officers' meetings to learn valuable information were sometimes caught, and every arrest hurt America's chance for victory. It was time to get help from someone new, someone different. Major Talmadge knew just who. A woman. Anna lived in Setauket on Long Island, near the British headquarters in New York City. It would be a great place for spying. Her relatives were loyalists, supporters of the British, which meant no one would suspect Anna of helping America. Anna was well placed to be a successful spy. She was at ease around other people and attended British society parties in New York City, all while dreaming of the day when America, the land she loved and grew up in, would be free. Anna was the last person anyone would dare accuse of being a spy, and when Major Talmadge asked her to become one for her beloved country, she agreed. Anna's husband Salah, an American soldier, also became a spy. It was a dangerous job for them, both that could end in capture, prison, and even death. But Anna wasn't afraid. She compared it to when she was a girl listening outside her mother's parlor for the latest gossip, only far more important. Anna was proud to be part of this courageous group of patriots, especially since she was the only woman among them. She hoped that would change in time. Major Talmadge warned Anna that the British might shoot a spy on sight, even one in petticoats. 2 years earlier, a spy named Nathan Hale had been hanged without trial for being an American spy, and the risks were just as high now. One of her first missions was to occupy her neighbor and fellow spy, Abram Woodhull, to New York City to gather information on the British Army. Anna pretended to be Abraham's wife, and they made up a story about visiting relatives in the city, which wasn't totally false. Anna's brothers lived in Manhattan, and since they were loyalists, she hoped to learn information about the British from them. She also bought cloth and dry goods, making it seem like she was really there to enjoy the city. Enemy soldiers might have suspected Abram and detained him for the questioning if he was on his own, but with charming Anna by his side, they made it safely to New York City and back. Anna kept her spy activities well hidden, and the other spies took care to keep her work for Culper Ring a secret too. Once, a spy named Cable Brewster was waiting in Anna's garden to have a private meeting with another spy. While waiting, a British officer passed by Caleb's hiding spot. Caleb could have captured or killed the soldier, but he didn't want to draw suspicion to Anna. She would have been questioned by the British authorities about the incident since Caleb was in her garden. The incident passed without anyone being discovered. Anna's husband, Salah, wasn't as lucky. Shortly after they started spying, he was arrested for covertly sending messages to the enemy. British soldiers locked him up on a prison ship named Jersey, and a fellow spy hurried to bring word to Anna. Other spies told her that living conditions on the prison ship were horrible. It was overrun with rats and there was little to eat. She would have to act quickly to save Salah's life. Anna couldn't risk revealing herself as a spy, not with her children depending on her. but she also couldn't abandon Salah. She kept making trips to New York City with Abraham, hoping to learn more about the British Army's plans, and on every visit she saw the prison ship bobbing in the harbor. She knew Salah was there, miserable and waiting for her, counting on her help. Anna also continued helping the other spies pass on messages, often written in invisible ink and in Major Tallman's special code, on a long route across the waters of the Long Island Sound. All the while, she was thinking of ways to get on the heavily guarded prison ship. She couldn't swim there, and she was too small to wear a British soldier's uniform. Suddenly, she had an idea. A simple one. She would bribe her way on board. And the bribe worked. The British soldiers let her on board the Jersey to visit Salah. The meals she brought him on her trips to the city kept him alive until she convinced her loyalist relatives to have him and their children move to a safe house in Connecticut, far from British eyes. One day, British officers came knocking at her door, demanding that Anna let her occupy her family's beautiful manor home as new headquarters. Anna gathered up her favorite belongings. She wouldn't go far, not when she could spy on the British right from her family's land. While the soldiers had their backs turned, she hid her silver and moved into a small cottage. From there, she would make sure the enemies didn't ruin the home her ancestors worked so hard to build. More important, she could eavesdrop and learn what the soldiers were planning. She'd just have to be very careful. Major Tallmadge gave Anna the responsibility to signal another spy when there was a message ready to be passed. It would be carried along the complicated route across the Long Island Sound to Connecticut, then on to General Washington's headquarters. At first, Anna thought about using a lantern, but then she had a better idea. Anna hung a dripping black petticoat on her clothesline. The British never suspected a woman's clothes hanging outside meant a message was ready to be delivered to General Washington. Soon, Anna figured out more ways she could use her linens to pass messages to the other spies. Handkerchiefs on her clothesline told the location of a boat hidden nearby cove. If there were 4, Major Tallmadge and the others knew to check a certain cove. If there were 6, they'd check another. British officers often strolled past Anna's cottage as she hung out her petticoats. What if they realized what she was doing and locked her up on the Jersey? But she couldn't be afraid. America needed her. One night, another spy came to visit Anna with a very important message about where the British Army would be moving next. Anna knew what this meant, a chance for America to get a step ahead of the British and finally start winning the war for their freedom. Now it was up to her to signal to a third spy who would take the message across the Sound to General Washington. Early the next morning, Anna grabbed her laundry basket and hurried outside. She could feel the eyes of soldiers on her, but she never gave them a reason to suspect her. She hung handkerchiefs and petticoats in neat rows, like she did every day. There was nothing she could do now but sit by her window watching the British soldiers and wait. Anna hoped that General Washington would get the message. And he did. Washington used the secrets Anna and the Culper Ring spies passed to him to anticipate enemy troops' movement and plan ahead, helping to win the Battle of Yorktown. And eventually, the ultimate victory, independence. When the good news reached Anna, she celebrated with her family. By that time, Salah and their children had returned home. Anna knew that some people were worried about the future of their young nation, but she wasn't afraid. She was glad she risked her life for her family and her nation's new freedoms. And President George Washington was glad his spies had trusted the clever Anna Strong. She was just the woman America needed. The end. Thank you so much for joining me today for History. We hope to see you next time. In the meantime, you can follow us on social media at the James Monroe Museum, or you can find us online at www.jamesmonroemuseum.unw.edu. Thank you and have a great day!